Okay, so today I'm going to go over the differences between the Wolf dual fuel range, shown here, and its little, or big brother, depending on how you consider it, the Wolf all-gas range. The Wolf product line, when it first came out, was essentially a kind of a stripped-down version of what Wolf commercial made for restaurants. So just a very basic all-gas range. Sub-Zero, on the other hand, created a product that was a lot like Decor in the 90s. You know, very European in styling and functionality, but with a more of a Viking feel and obviously more of an American sizing. So like the Decor at the time, you had an electronic interface that allowed you to use European convection modes inside a large format US oven. Instead of open burners like on a Viking, this kind of went the same direction as Decor with that sealed burner setup. Now, where the Decor had a difficult time simmering, they went with a more, kind of a more dramatic, from a marketing standpoint, version of what DCS and Monogram had at the time, which is a dual flame setup. Here the flames are working independently versus in concert with one another. But a really neat piece of equipment. The Decor, had big, large plastic touchpad. This utilized a kind of a mode selector integrated into the bezel, and then a temperature that would you could toggle left and right, and then originally this was like a little liquid crystal display with some sensor controls, and now it integrates a TFT display inside that oven. Just like the Decor, it was self-cleaning versus a more traditional all-gas range, which was what Viking was selling at the time. So way more in the direction of the Decor, no exposed metal screws. Now the Decor was kind of a flat slab from the front. This, they gave you these kind of neat looking furniture legs. This piece at the bottom kind of breaks up the front, and then they added a little bit of beveling in the glass there. So the whole kind of package was just a much nicer presentation than what Decor was offering, but still kept a lot of the functionality that Decor had, the multi-mode convection, self-cleaning, very precise ovens, sealed burners. However, I think Sub-Zero knew that they couldn't call that a Sub-Zero range. And typically with luxury marketing and selling, each manufacturer back in the late 90s was kind of, they had a niche, in the sense that, they were, Sub-Zero was the refrigeration company. Decor was known as a great cooking company. Viking was known as a great cooking company. Thermador, cooking. There were, there weren't these lines where you bought everything from the same line with the same look. You went to the best component in each category, especially when you had unlimited funds. But even if you didn't have unlimited funds, some people would buy a KitchenAid refrigerator or a Maytag dishwasher, a GE range. If you read Consumer Reports, you knew that those were kind of at the top of the categories for each of those things, and they didn't really have a very unique design language, so you could intermingle them. So with Sub-Zero going into the cooking line, having these new designs, but not wanting to call them Sub-Zero, that's where this range kind of came in. So I believe the sales on these ranges were probably not great, and I think it was my understanding that the guys that owned it at the time kind of decided to get out of the residential business, probably because it wasn't very profitable. When the range has some inconsistencies in the design, or something's not quite perfect, scratches, sharp metal edges, none of those things are a concern when you're selling it to a restaurant, but these are all big concerns when you're selling to consumers. And I can imagine that they just got to a point where they said, all right, enough's enough. We don't really want to be in this business anymore. It just doesn't make sense from a profitability standpoint. So Sub-Zero, as I understand, kind of ended up going to them and saying, we really don't want your tooling, but we do want you know, the name so that we can utilize this on all these new products that that we've come out with. And I guess the agreement was that they would buy this tooling for these older, you know, kind of very basic restaurant style ranges designed for residential use in exchange for getting to use the Wolf name. Now, the Wolf commercial logo is kind of the head of a wolf next to the logo. Sub-Zero's design was this wolf with a little, you know, flame over the W. So that range, I think, was one of the first things that Sub-Zero started selling. They reworked that range. They upgraded, I believe, the electronics in that, did some tweaks. It's now had a bunch of tweaks, but it's still really nothing like this, this dual fuel. So we talked about the front of that range and some of its unique designs. When you looked at the all gas, originally that had a semi-sealed open burners that were made of red brass from a German supplier. It has since transitioned to that dual flame sealed burner that's on the residential, I'm sorry, the dual fuel ranges. The knobs were also different. They had kind of a more plasticky look. So this got updated with the dual fuel style of knobs, and then they kind of, I think, just a variation of the bezel design. You can still see the very basic switches. You know, there's a switch for the oven light, and then of course a switch for the convection fan in the back. I don't know if you can see that spinning. But inside, you know, it's nothing like the dual fuel. You don't get the blue enamel. You don't get the twin convection fans. You don't even get the halogen side-mounted lights. You get a single, probably a 40-watt incandescent in the back. The gasket did, at one point, it was like a little folded piece of stainless steel. It was a metal gasket. That has been replaced with a more, you know, up-to-date kind of a residential style gasket that's in the frame. And then when it lost its semi-sealed open burners, the drip tray that used to be here went away, and now you kind of have this little vent fin, I guess, to protect the air vent at the top of the door. You still have these pieces of metal that sandwich it in, and then you've got that toe plate, and then you've got kind of a tucked back in there, more of like a Viking style or a restaurant style, kind of a little cylindrical leg. So visually, you know, side by side, there are a lot of differences. And there are a lot of people that will go on the website and see that there's a couple $1,000 or $2,500, whatever the difference is between those two ranges, and just assume that they're getting the same range that has a gas oven instead of an electric oven, and it's not true. They're two completely different product lines. Now on top, you can get the 6-burner configuration that you see on the dual fuel. The grates have been updated with this this range. I think even the BTU output has been updated on the 6-burner version there. You can get this infrared searing char grill on both models. Now in the gas, that's essentially the burner in the roof of the of the oven for the broiler. I don't know why you would outfit it like this, where you'd have a searing burner on top and a searing burner in the oven. That would make probably more sense in the dual fuel. Personally, I prefer the griddle option for both these, where you get an infrared burner with a cold rolled steel top that you season. So the top is going to be very similar, although, like I said, there may be some BTU differences. I'd have to look at the specs on these updated models. But in the oven, you know, massively different. No multiple cooking modes. You have bake, you have broil, and then you have a little switch for the convection. And then there's those visual elements that we talked about earlier in the video. So yeah, be careful. There are benefits to both. You know, if you're into baking, the electric oven here is going to be extremely precise. You're going to get an integrated roast probe. You're going to get an integrated guide to using the oven, what they call their gourmet mode. So once you select the G for gourmet, it's going to allow you to kind of dial a specific type of food group in there. And then the oven is going to set up its most optimal mode and give you recommended temperatures. If it has an internal temperature, it's even going to recommend an internal temperature for the type of protein that you're cooking. Now, it's going to be a little bit more, they're going to cover their butt as far as a temperature. So there are a lot of things when you're looking at like a medium rare steak, the temperature is probably going to be a little bit higher than you might want to do it at home, just because they probably don't want to get sued. But again, that's a feature that you would get in the dual fuel oven. You wouldn't get there. Typically, the oven temperatures are significantly more precise in an oven like this. Now, with all of these benefits in the TFT display, the temperature probe, the electronics to give you way more of an even temperature, those things are all absent here. So, if you're a baker, I guess, the fact that there's probably like a 10 to 20 degree variance in the oven as it shuts that burner off and then turns it back on, that could bother somebody who's really into baking and is looking for a very accurate temperature. Some of the other features people might not miss. You can use a timer on your phone, but having a lack of those features does give it a potential reliability advantage. The simplicity in this design means that 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, where that may start to have some service hiccups, this will probably be running reliably, or even if it does have a service related issue, it's probably not going to be a super expensive repair because of the simplicity in its design. So this still has value. Some people will want that more Lexus style or Lexus feature set on the dual fuel, and some people might like this like Chevy, Ford pickup truck feature set on the all gas range. That's all I have to say for today. If you like this video, please hit the like button, share with friends, and please, for the love of God, hit the subscribe button so I can up my subscriber list. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.